SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are continuing our Into the Weekend with BetDSI call, the call we do every Thursday with Brent, the headlines manager at DSI. And we just got finished discussing NFL Week 3. Now we're going to take a look ahead to college football Week 4. And last week, Brent gave us 6 sides that he said he was seeing sharp action on. 5 of those sides covered. So, Brent, thanks so much for that last week.
Yeah, well, I got to be careful what I'm doing here, Peter. I got to knock on the door from the big boss saying, what's going on around here? You're handing out winners to all the customers here. No. This can't be good for business.
No, you can money management is what really makes people lose money. You can hand out a couple winners. It's not going to matter one bit. But
okay,
we definitely appreciate it.
We'll fire out a couple more this week then,
All
Peter.
right, excellent. First thing I want to talk to you about, though, I was looking over some of the line movements and the line histories at BetChris, and I don't know whether this is like unusual, but I've seen a lot of games with some pretty stark line movements bouncing back and forth, like, not on and off of a key number, but back from one key number to another. Perfect example, just even a big game like Auburn at LSU, it was bouncing back between like 14 to 17 and a half, back down to 14, back up to 17 and a half. Also, a small game, Arkansas State at Memphis. The line on that one bounced back and forth a few times from 3 to 7, back down to 3, back up to 7. Is that unusual, and what's causing those kinds of movements?
Yeah, it's not actually that unusual. I mean, there's some cases where it's all about the number, and you get sharps who have different opinions on different games. I mean, the Memphis-Arkansas State game is a classic example there where I've got sharp money that we really respect, laying the 5.5 with Arkansas State, and sharps came in on the other side as soon as it hit +7. So it was a case where sharps have a differing opinion, and it's all about the number, and obviously in football. Now, LSU and Auburn is just a case where people are just all over LSU at this point. I mean, a lot of the money at 14 was buying down when it was 14.5. They bought down to 14, but they laid the 16.5. They laid the 17. They laid 17.5. We're back down to 17. But this is a case where the sharps really aren't involved on LSU or Auburn in this case. It's just a whole lot of public money, and you're just kind of moving to find out, okay, where's the number that sticks? And right now it looks like 17 is the number that's going to stick. And I mean, this case too. I mean, this Maryland game was another one where I had sharps coming in at 2.5, 3 minus 20, -4. We're sitting 4.5 and 5 right now. That's a scary situation for us. Georgia Tech as well. I mean, Georgia Tech, North Carolina. We're sitting around 6.5 with Georgia Tech right now. The sharps were laying 2.5 and 3 minus 20 on Georgia Tech as well. So that's a case where it's a ton of movement. And as far as you get off from like Georgia Tech opening at 2.5 all the way up to 6.5 where we are now, you kind of get nervous about the middle at some point.
No, I mean, it's one thing to see a bunch of games on a card with like big movements one way, and then some team that opens whatever +3.5, and now they're -3, and so obviously you got a lot of one-way action. But I saw a lot of games that bounced back and forth. A lot of them, right? Like small games like Rice Houston 1.5 to 4, back to 1.5, back to 4, like across the 3. Idaho State Washington State like 30.5 to 35, down to 31, back up to 35, and I'm just wondering what's moving all those numbers. So you're saying that the Auburn LSU line, that was all moved by public action?
That's mostly just public action. Yeah, the sharps had not got involved in that game at all. Now, again, like I said, the Memphis-Arkansas State game where you've got sharps split on that one. Houston-Rice that you touched on, that's a case where I've got a lot of public money on Rice, and I've got sharp money on Houston. They were betting Houston -2, 2.5. That went up to 3 where they were taking Rice. The public was taking Rice. So, I mean, our count is about 3-1 in favor of Rice, but the money is sharp money that we have on Houston. So there's different factors driving different lines.
Right. Well, my sense on all these lines is that when you're getting that like back and forth action, and it's the sharps doing it, my sense is that it's the favorites that have the value there, and that it's the sharps on the other side who are just looking for value with a number that are maybe a little bit less sharp. But who knows? What do I know? All right. From the rest of the card, is there any other notable sharp action you can tell us about?
Well, on Friday, we got Boise State at Fresno State. We're sitting at 4 right now. Fresno State at home and favored. Sharp money come on Boise State +5 and +4.5. Line at +4 right now has kind of been balanced back and forth. Now, just one caveat. I did see sharp money on Fresno State all the way down to 3. So right now I think it's all about the number in terms of the sharps being split on this game. But there's a group, a lot of groups that are all on Boise State, and kind of like one group the other way on Fresno State. Again, the number 3 is on. They were taking the +4.5 and 5. So Boise State looks live there. Purdue, Wisconsin is a strong overplay. I got over money over 47.5 and 47. We're sitting at 48 right now. Another group of sharps even played the first half over on that game, over 24 -120, sitting at 24.5 right now. So Purdue, Wisconsin is a definite overplay there. We talked about the Georgia Tech North Carolina game, how that got just ran away from us. So
Yeah.
Georgia Tech was the sharp play there, 2.5, 3 -20, sitting at 6.5 right now. Same thing happened on that game with the total, Peter. They're betting the over 56.5, over 57, over 58. We're sitting at 59 right now. Just hoping for some money to come back on the under. Maryland we touched on, the money at -3, -20, -4. They're sitting at 4.5 and 5 right now on Maryland. So Maryland was a sharp play. Georgia Tech was a sharp play. The Georgia Tech over was sharp. We also have sharp on the Purdue-Wisconsin over there. And we already touched on the Houston-Rice. That's
right.
a public sharp split there. Sharps are on Houston. Public is on Rice. And one more total for you, which it seems like every week we have one game where the public and sharps are all on the over, and it's a big risk for us. This case is Texas State at Texas Tech. Sharps were laying the over 54, 54.5, 55. We're sitting, the public kind of tailed it at that point, and we're sitting at 58. No money on the under so far.
All right, a lot of great information as always, Brent, for anyone